Welcome to the Save vs. Poison podcast, the podcast dedicated to gaming, general geekery, and enduring sobriety in an ever-maddening society, with your host Will and two guys that probably live under his stairs. If you're an addict, know an addict, or are just interested in exploring the outer mysteries of geekery, you're in the right place. Without further ado, let's get to the show. Welcome back to the show, everybody. We're just diving right in, all right? No pre-jokes, no shenanigans, just title sequence, podcast, boom. That's it. All right? I don't like the foreplay anymore. We'll be back to the foreplay next week. Don't worry. We'll get back to it. All right? I know some of you love the foreplay. And point of fact, I think some of you like the foreplay, that pre-ramble joke that I throw in at the beginning. I think you like that better than you like any of the rest of the content for the podcast. But you know what? That's okay, because that's the stuff that comes off the top of our heads extemporaneously without trying to put any work into it. So, purest expression of who we are and what we do. Joining me tonight will not be Steve. Steve will not be joining me, and he will not be joining the lovely and talented Ticky, who's also here with me. Steve tonight actually just started working out. We're really proud of him. The only problem is the reason that he said he's working out and the exercise that he's doing, it's just weighted hip thrusts, and he says he's doing that to, and I quote in an aggressive tone, because that's how he said it to me, put his wife through the mattress. Huh. That's what he said. So that's why he's doing weighted hip thrusts. We wish his wife a very speedy recovery. Yikes. But joining me tonight, recently, after having seen a PSA about prostate cancer, he is taken to compulsively doing self-prostate checks. When confronted about this habit, he pointed a certain finger at his accuser and shouted, "I don't care if this is a pet food store. Prostate health is important." He's our friend Ticky. Hey, Ticky, welcome back.
Hey.
Yay.
Good to be back.
It's just you, a couple of badgers, or a couple of hamsters. Not badgers. There's no badgers at the pet store.
That's too bad.
A couple of hamsters at the and a very smelly finger.
Mm-hmm.
Just prostate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know
checks.
how you do prostate checks. It's just.
I wear a glove.
Oh, okay.
I wear a glove and I offer them for free out of a van.
Aren't you just super sophisticated?
Yeah, I mean,
Mr. Fancy Pants.
I kind of spit polish that sumbitch, so it's not like I'm using like medical grade lubricant or anything. Don't think that, please. No. Just a glove though. That's for my safety more than yours.
Just that way that it keeps your hands from getting their shoulders dirty.
That's true. I also like to trim my nails. I like to do that. That's just an extra benefit.
That is actually really classic.
Yeah, seriously. If you ever have to go to a proctologist or a urologist, please make sure that they've trimmed their nails. Okay. Really important. Seriously. I wrote that joke, and all I could think was you doing a Wilford Brimley impersonation. Just check your prostate. Check it often.
Check your prostate.
That's all I could think during that. Yeah, just the old walrus stash doing that.
Use a gerbil. Check your prostate.
Check your prostate. Just do it. It's important.
You got diabetes.
Yeah. That guy acted in a whole bunch of stuff, and he was actually a pretty decent actor, other than Hard Target, which I like. Nobody should try to do a Cajun accent ever, except for people that are from Louisiana.
I liked him. He was one of my favorite parts of Hard Target. Well,
yeah, of course he was one of your favorite parts of Hard Target. It was hysterical. That whole Yancey Butler, Lance Henriksen, the Belgian helicopter himself, so funny. And in waddles Wilford Brimley, and we're like, listen, okay, finally, this movie's about to get seriously. Look at that mustache. This movie is finally going to kick it. Oh my God, what is that fucking accent?
Yeah, it was like Brad Pitt was going to channel him later for Snatch.
Yeah,
like, you just couldn't understand half the shit Wilford Brimley was even saying. He was just like, "Oh no, horse about you over there." Like, okay, cool. What? Oh God.
Yeah.
Imagine the director like hanging out. Like, did we write lines for his part, or is he just making shit up? Does anyone know? Anyone?
Yeah. Does anyone? Is he Is he like reciting poetry or something? What is he? I don't understand a goddamn thing he's saying.
The
You know,
plus
I thought
side
it was
is
funny.
everybody else is reacting the way they're supposed to. So
Yeah,
it all
yeah.
works out.
Yeah, everybody reacted with that same level of
Yeah, they just
disattached
well, no, it's
confusion that they did
they
in
just
Hard
basically
Target.
plowed through the scene. They were like, yeah, okay, well, whatever he said,
Yeah.
but I'm going to say my line too, and still got to do my acting. So I'm just going to keep on going as though Wilford Brimley is actually going to be dubbed over later.
Just gonna keep going. No big deal. Just dub him over. God, that's funny.
Are we going to dub him in post? What are we doing?
Like the only people I've ever seen that got dubbed in American films were Arnold Schwarzenegger when he played Hercules in Hercules in New York, and Gina Carano in Haywire. Apparently, she was so bad in that movie that they dubbed over her with a voice actress. Like,
no, Haywire, is that the Steven Seagal one?
I don't think so. I don't think Steven Seagal was
there was somebody else that she was dubbed over in a Steven Seagal movie, and you can find the video online, and it's really sad because they went out and they found this. She gets dubbed over. She isn't told about it until she's in the theater with her parents watching the movie for the first time.
Oh, that makes me sad.
And her parents are like, all puzzled and looking at her.
Honey, that's not your voice.
Well, it's a British. They got like a British. Somebody who's British to make her sound smarter, but it had like a really high pitched voice, so it sounded like it really didn't work very well. But like she's
like a super posh British accent. Well, that'd be so funny.
That's the thing though. She's Latino, so you're like watching this like what?
That's
really?
So fucking funny,
and
dude.
And the worst part was like as she said it in this interview with like I think Conan or something like that. She was like, I was apparently such a bad actress that I got dubbed over. Steven Seagal didn't, but I did.
Yeah, right. Like that's because you can't mimic that Steven Seagal whisper sort of thing that he does.
This is a weird kind of like strange mumble.
Like a weird whisper mumble with like a little bit like a little hint of attitude. Like if my children were to speak to me like that, I would probably have to disown them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So the Snatch thing, it's so funny you bring that up. Brad Pitt was actually originally supposed to, I think, play Turkish, which was played by Jason Statham.
Yep.
But because his accent was so bad, Guy Ritchie was like, listen, your accent is so bad and it's so impossible to understand. We're just going to give you the part of the pikey. And I don't know if they wrote the pikey specifically for that.
So there was the pikey leader. You have the story partially correct. Brad Pitt's English accent, he couldn't. It was just terrible. The whole staff, like all the other actors, were laughing at it. He just could not affect a good accent. So they shifted and they said, well, what kind of character would there be that would have this shitty of an accent and still be in the UK area?
Yeah,
and they were like, oh, a pikey. And they actually had Brad Pitt hang out with, I guess, like some of the drunk Irish crew and some pikeys, and learn their accents until it got to a point where they couldn't understand him anymore.
And they're like, gold, fucking gold.
Yep.
Action. Scene one, take one.
They're like making fun of him. You can't even do it. The pikeys are all making fun of him for not being able to do an English accent. And then he's like talking pikey, and they're like, oh, well, whatever.
That's so funny. That's so funny. I love it.
But you're right. That is the big story on that one. It's interesting too because like you just gotta wonder with like if it's Jason Statham, what was he gonna do?
Yeah. What would Jason Statham's life been without Guy Ritchie? Ooh, I don't know.
Tough call. Well, he was in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and then Snatch, and then like for whatever reason, it's like I want to do some action movies or something.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of like slotted into the English Bruce Willis sort of, kind of hard beaten,
same haircut,
downtrodden, bald, take no shit, everyman kind of action star that Willis,
He's
populated in the 80s and 90s.
Kind of the neat thing about Jason Statham is Jason Statham pretty much always plays Jason Statham.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're going to known quantity whenever you hire him.
I mean, wouldn't it be great if they did a remake of Hudson Hawk and Jason Statham played in that? Wouldn't that be great?
I don't think it would work.
You don't think it would work? Oh, I think it'd be so good.
Hudson Hawk has to be a New Yorker. His name is derived specifically from the Hudson River.
Hudson River, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. No, by the way, I loved Hudson Hawk. I still think it's a cool movie. I still think it's funny as hell.
Yeah, Steve would agree with you. I wasn't so sold on it,
like
but Steve would agree with you.
One of the only people that does. I think people are like, you've been running your brain watching shitty horror movies. I'm like, no, man, Hudson Hawk's, dude, it's funny, it's good, it's absurd.
Steve loves all of your movie takes. All of them. And I want to throttle him because of it. He's like one of my closest friends on earth. And every single time he's like, no, I want to watch that movie. We should watch it. This is an awesome movie. Let's do this, Will. I'm like, what do you, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Is this what I have to do to keep my friendrips alive is watch the dregs of fucking, outside of Hollywood, California.
They're not all bad.
They're all bad. They're all awful.
Because there was
they're garbage. They're a turd on a hot dog bun.
Hang on. No, I'm waiting. In the sun.
In the sun.
Wait. I'm trying to think of one that's. Werewolves on Wheels was a cool concept.
The concept of werewolves that ride motorcycles is a great concept. So I actually had an idea for a character that I wanted to play. If I ever played Werewolf the Apocalypse again, I had an idea of a bone gnar whose only possessions were the stuff that he could fit on his motorcycle, and that was it. And he was like just handy enough to be able to wrench on his bike, and he did a bunch of like courier style things around the US, and that was part of his milieu. Of course, I was watching like a lot of like Sons of Anarchy at the time, so I was like, okay, this feels like a real. But like, if you could take Sons of Anarchy and actually throw some werewolves in there, that would be okay by me. But they didn't do that, did they, Ticky?
No,
they did not do that.
It was a missed opportunity, and to be honest, it's what was I just thinking about here? Oh yeah, there's a TV series in the '80s, I think, or early '90s called Werewolf. And I think that's the name of it, but it's the story of a guy who is traveling from town to town chasing after the lead werewolf because he believes that by killing the lead werewolf, he will lift the curse on himself. And it's a cool concept, and in that case, if he was riding a motorcycle and doing that particular thing across America, it would actually be kind of a cool, that would actually be kind of a cool concept. But especially if you had like a Sons of Anarchy, like a biker gang that was chasing him or something.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Like just shoehorn in a biker gang for no reason. So that concept does kind of exist in that sense. The Canes from Kung Fu, wandering from town to town looking for a particular like person that you have to defeat or confront, and doing it with like a werewolf or a vampire or whatever.
Sure, I mean that totally could. I mean, it's a little contrived, but it totally can work. My whole thing, like my character idea, was all just about like he just wants his freedom. That's what he wants. Like he takes the courier jobs to get enough money for food and like to be able to like camp and like that's it. Like food, shit for his bike. That's it.
Did you ever meet that guy Rat? He's a friend of Sandusky. And
yes. So no, I never met Rat. But Jim talks about Rat pretty regularly. But like, he was like with Rat, Rex, Lisa, Sandusky. Yeah.
Yeah, because Rat, I met him, and when he left town because winter was coming, he was like, "I got to get south," and I was like, "Okay." And he packed up his.
So good.
He literally packed up his motorcycle. With all like his bags and all of his shit, right? And he didn't have a sports tour. I don't think they even existed back then.
Yeah.
And I remember him like telling me this funny thing. And he goes, if you own more than you can put on a motorcycle, you own too much. And then he gets on his bike and he rides off. And it was like, huh. And then I looked at Moss and I'm like, here's a weird guy. And Moss goes, yeah, he'll call us collect in another 2 weeks to let us know he made it safe.
That's a pretty good story. I mean, there is a part of me that romanticizes the idea that of what he just said, right? There's a part of me that romanticizes that. But also, I like playing fucking video games, and that's hard to do
You can
from motorcycle back.
You'll have to find a way.
Apparently, all right.
You'll build an Xbox console that has a flat screen TV built into it. You can do it nowadays. You couldn't do it then because
I just bought a PS5. Right, if I'm going to do anything, it's going to be with that technology. But anyway, the point is, wife, if you're listening to this later, that's why tomorrow morning, me and the motorcycle will be gone. All right, just want you to know. Okay, I love you, but I got to be me. All right, born to be wild.
There you go.
There it is. So I mean, that's a good how-do. That's a good. How's everybody doing this afternoon?
So that's and that's yet another thing to incorporate into the new edition of Werewolves on Wheels, like when they remake it. I don't know. Maybe I should write a script.
When they remake it, I'm telling you, we've had 5 or 6 solid fucking ideas for movies. We've got the equipment. Let's make one. Go ahead.
The best part about Werewolves on Wheels is it's all Lon Chaney style Wolfman. It's not werewolves, it's wolfmen. So
yeah.
You're just like wearing like a denim, like a Canadian tuxedo, right? Denim vest with like patches on it and shit, and blue jeans and boots, and you're just riding along with that werewolf mask on. That would be the like at night you're just like, it would work. That would work. You just have to find a way to kind of fit these philosophies of like Rat, in with it, where everybody has to drive like a sports tour or something, so they can actually pack shit in there in a reasonable fashion.
Yeah, lots of luggage. No,
Werewolves on gold wings.
Yeah, werewolves on Hondas. That's funny. That's fucking funny. Not even riding domestic made motorcycles.
No.
They're riding
no one has
Japanese
that kind of money.
Bikes.
Like, yeah, well, if you want to buy like an '89 Honda Goldwing, it's gonna run. I mean, that's the plus side.
Oh yeah. There's a part of me, like, if we had the space, I actually may have already like purchased one if we'd had the space, because there is a part of me that would love to like cruise around on a couch. That'd be okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, you look at a motorcycle, you're like, hey, has air conditioning? What the hell?
What the fuck?
They're set up for like any kind of weather. They're maneuverable, they're reliable, and they're cheap. It's if you were to change that up and you were to like try and buy like an American made motorcycle, you wouldn't be a werewolf on wheels. You'd be a werewolf with a full-time job.
Yeah.
Trying to pay off the debt of having bought an Indian, cruiser.
And don't get me wrong, those are beautiful, beautiful bikes.
Expensive.
Beautiful, expensive friggin' bikes. I mean, they're not quite Harley, but they're still very expensive.
That's the way you defeat the werewolves, is just giving them crippling debt.
Yeah, just give the werewolves crippling debt. I can't howl at the moon. Why not? These interest rates are killing me.
I scream at my ceiling fan all the time. I'm just so worn out. I'll be glad you're not like Terry. You got student loans. Oh, son of a bitch!
Son of a bitch. That's funny.
Doesn't he know that curse is worse than vampirism? You could never get rid of those. So yeah, that's so. Speaking of curses.
Speaking of curses, my name's Will, and I'm an alcoholic.
My name's Ticky, and I'm an alcoholic.
That was well done. Nicely done, sir. You did the segue. Holy crap!
Yeah.
Good job. A little clap. All right, everybody out there in YouTube and Podcast Landia, please give a clap for Ticky, because that was smooth, baby. That was smooth. That was smoother than Billy D. All right, that was Lando smooth. All right, I know you.
Praise.
Yeah. Oh, I mean it, buddy. I mean it. Yeah. So, let's see. Fuck me. Oh, still sober. Yeah, I forgot to say that at the top of the hour, didn't I? I'm Will. I'm your host, and I'm still sober. There we go. Did it. Good job, Will.
I'm Ticky. I'm also the host. And I'm still sober.
Yeah. Did I have any issues? Like, what issues did I have this weekend? So Sunday morning was about the worst that I had any kind of strong emotional reaction, and it was just because I was feeling kind of overwhelmed by all the shit that I had to get done over the last like 2.5 days. It was just a lot. It was a lot, and it was stuff that I didn't want to do, and threw me into kind of a negative headspace that I had a hard time getting out of on Sunday. And it all culminated in Sunday night going on the live stream. And we played Hunt Sunday night, which was great. But before that, I thought that it was really important that I get into a better headspace. So the pre-gaming portion of the show where I talk about something sobriety or alcoholism or mental health related was me basically just talking about the things in my life that I was grateful for. So Sunday sucked for certain portions of it. My headspace was not great. I was not a particularly great partner to my wife, although we talked about it while my frustrations were going on, and I did what I could to try to make her understand where my head was, why it was there, and that it wasn't her fault, and that I wasn't angry at her. It was more circumstantial. It just so happens that in those situations, it always feels like you're, frustrated or angry at the person that is trying to share space with you. So I ended up spending about, 15, 20 minutes on Sunday night, getting myself into a better headspace, talking about the things that I was thankful for. And, one of the things I'm thankful for is just having somebody like my wife in my life who, tolerates my absolute insane bullshit sometimes. I mean, out of the two of us, I am 100% the high maintenance individual. It is not her. She is smooth fucking sailing, everybody. So I didn't have any cravings though. But as far as like mental health kind of stuff goes, yeah, Sunday was not a great day for me. I'm still working on trying to figure out how to regulate my mood when I get into a place in the morning where something or a series of small things sets me off that at one point in time in my life I didn't think that I had an issue with, but as I look back on it, like if I had a shit morning, it turned into a shit day, and it didn't get better until the next day usually. So that's some emotional work that I need to get cracking on and figuring out. So yeah, that's my check-in this week. No issues with any cravings though. So yeah. Ticky, what's up in your head, buddy?
Oh, I'm gonna say you crushed it on Sunday. So
Sunday was fun.
on Hunt, that was
On Hunt.
that was a blast. I was just there to kind of like support, and we had a lot of success. It was a lot of fun. Not much for me. I'm a little bit different, I suppose. I don't have any real triggers or anything like that. If it's okay, so here's one of the joys and one of the terrible things about being bipolar. I can wake up and just have like a shit attitude and be so frustrated with everything in this world and just really upset about it all. And then I get my breakfast and I go and I sit at my desk and I turn on my laptop and I'm talking and somebody at work goes, "Hey man, I need to talk to you for a second." And I go, "Okay." And then I talk to somebody and then I actually feel a little better.
Yeah.
And but I can like I don't always stay in those because I'm rapid cycling. I don't stay in those like negative spaces very often, but I also don't tend to stay in the happy high places for the longest time either.
Sure.
So, yeah, I guess it's just a bit different for me. So like it's not like a stressor to be like that. It's just I guess maybe it is actually because it's things, thoughts and feelings will hit like really hard. And they just drive by though. You get stuck with that for a few minutes and then or a few seconds and it moves on.
Mm-hmm.
It passes through you. But it's not it's not the thing it's not going to keep me it's not going to keep me down, and it's not going to prevent me from being sober. I have at my disposal these days my biggest tool that I have is similar to what we were saying last time, which is you will never regret not drinking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have that the tool that I use, the mental trick that I ask myself every time is not every time, but if things get if I start thinking about alcohol or I start thinking about a stressful situation and somehow that pops up in my brain is like, hey, why don't we go get a beer? There's a part of me that goes, well, how the hell is that going to mean? Will that even help?
Yeah. How's
And then I have
that
to
gonna
like,
end?
yeah. Then I have to play out that scenario for like 5 seconds or so in my brain
Mm-hmm.
before I realize that no, that just means that I'm not going to get shit done. I'm going to be in a terrible mood. I'm
Yeah.
probably going to shit blood or something like that. No, I'm not going to do that. So it's that's like a little thing that I have. Like I said, it's weird. It's like little microcosms of emotions for me though. Like I can feel really intense at times, and even for what feels like a very long time, but it turns out for other people that's not a very long time at all.
Yeah.
So I'm still like, I don't know. I guess I'm always going to be learning in that regard.
Yeah.
No, no, I don't have any problems with drinking or sobriety
That's good.
this last week. I was doing all right.
That's good. That's good, man. It's funny. Like you're saying, you'll talk to somebody and then suddenly you feel like better. I don't know what it is about certain people or certain interactions that can totally pull you out of a shit moment. And they don't even have to be anything to do with why you were in a shit moment to begin with. Just a basic friendly or cordial or kind interaction with somebody can do just so much friggin' work.
No, it's my extroverted ass. Like trying to draw energy and motivation from within me is really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I get seriously energized by actually talking to people. So
Yeah.
like I have like an endorphin rush just from having that interaction, and my mood begins to go up. It's actually one of the biggest problems I have with like therapy is like is there anything you want to talk about? And I'm like, no, I'm not feeling really good right now. It's because I'm talking to somebody.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good because I'm talking to somebody. It's and like I'm having a hard time pulling those negative emotions or those negative experiences forward because I'm having such a rush or
Yeah.
so much energy from this encounter. So it's I don't know. I'm weird.
No,
I guess.
I mean, I can understand that. I can understand that. Yeah. Huh. Fascinating. All right. Good share, man. Thanks so much. Cheers. So I recently had occasion on one of the Discord servers that I populate, that I'm a part of, that I'm a community member for, to run across a person that I would say is most definitely an alcoholic. This person was talking about the way that they engage with alcohol in one of the most self-destructive framings that I've ever seen somebody be public about it. Like I've seen addicts in denial. I've seen addicts that have given up hope, but I never saw an addict that knew that they were an addict, knew that they were doing damage to themselves, were willingly engaging with their substance of choice and had no interest in changing any of those facts or trying to mitigate them with any kind of self or public deception. Very interesting. This person was very, very honest about the way that they were treating themselves inside of their addiction. And it got me, like, I engaged this person for a little while, and I actually, like, you came to mind, Ticky, when I met this person, and I asked them the question, is this working for you? And the answer that they gave was just like, I recognize this is bad for me, but yeah, this is working for me. Like, what am I going to do? Like, feel my feelings? Like, at this point, I continue to engage in kind of in a cursory, kind of a casual way, but I wasn't going to put anything more into that. So it kind of got me thinking, who do we try to help? I think that service is a big part of being in recovery. I think that we reinforce our state of recovery when we help other people around us. Now, that doesn't have to be a million people. That can literally just be like, if Ticky and I were just here doing this, helping each other back and forth across our addictions, that could be enough. I like to to do a little bit more than that. That's why we have the community focus that we do. That's why we do the Twitch. That's why the YouTube thing. That's why, when people come up to me after they've heard that I'm an addict, I'm more than happy to chat with them or go get lunch or anything like that. But the question that I came up with was, who do we help? Who do we put ourselves into a position to help? And I don't know if you've got an answer for that question, Ticky, but I have an answer for that question. Would you like to go first, or do you want me to expound first?
I believe it's got to be people that are willing to help themselves.
Oh my God, got it in one. Yeah, I mean,
That's
this was not difficult, right?
No, it's well, I mean, it's like I said, and I've said this in the past so much. It's you can't control another person's addictions.
Right.
So if they're not willing, if they're not able or capable, or this isn't simply something they're willing to even engage in, you can't make them. You can't make them stop whatever they're doing. It's just not gonna work.
Yeah, I think that there's this thought that loved ones of addicts have, where they'll say, maybe if I give an ultimatum, giving an ultimatum doesn't get somebody sober. That's not going to, you can't ultimatum somebody into being sober. They have to make a choice that might be informed by that ultimatum, might be informed by you setting a boundary that says it's me or the bottle. And then if they choose the bottle, you actually leave. That might be a choice that they'll make down the road. But the ultimatum has to be not about trying to get them sober. That has to be about you trying to make a better situation for yourself, setting a boundary for yourself. I have one person at the gym that I like quite a bit, very good person, but they had an addict for a partner, and they continually tried to set basically soft lines in the sand. And every single soft line in the sand that they set, that they then didn't reinforce as a boundary and eventually leave their partner, that was just them basically saying, I don't have the wherewithal or the strength of will to make a situation better for myself, and not recognizing that there is literally nothing that you can do to make an addict sober. The addict makes themselves sober. There can be external forces that can act as part of a motivator for that, but from everything that I've seen and from my own experience, you can't lead an addict to sobriety. Yeah. I just feel like if you're not willing to help yourself, there's too much emotional energy and damage too much energy that is drained, and too much emotional damage that is potentially done to people that buy into trying to help an addict that won't help themselves. And I think that's probably a waste. And it feels odd saying this, because you can see these people. You see these people out in the world, and you say to yourself, that's a person that needs some help. But the very first thing that has to happen before that help can be given is that person has to make an honest, no shit effort at reaching out for that help. I think. I mean, this is all anecdotal, and I don't have any research to back this up. It's just, what I've seen and how I kind of feel about it. What do you like? Am I off base when I say that, Ticky? What do you think?
No, not really. I mean, I think that's an interesting point you make with saying that when you draw that line in the sand, that's got to be, for you, not for them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. like I said, the people that you help have to be willing to help themselves. That's all I can think about. I don't think you're off base on it. Anecdotally speaking, that's, you know, it's been my experience too. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think there'd be people that would argue like, what are you going to do? Leave your loved ones behind? Um, you don't want to say that. You don't want to get into that piece, but I mean, you've yeah. Okay, you know when you're in a plane
Yeah.
and they always tell you that when the oxygen mask drops, if you're sitting next to a child, put your oxygen mask on first and then put theirs on. The idea being that if you pass out from lack of oxygen, you won't be able to put an oxygen mask on anyone.
Right.
You have to kind of take care of yourself in these instances before you can go and take care of somebody else. And you have to be willing to draw that line in the sand. You can't be the first one to blink. You know, and you've got to understand that sometimes with the ultimatums they backfire.
Yeah. Yeah, they can.
And they really really can. Sometimes you have to come to the realization that 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 somebody is not capable or willing. And then we just, then circle back to point number one. When somebody's willing to handle to change and to take care of themselves, then yeah.
And it really only has to be, somebody saying, hey, I think I need help. And that can trigger an entire cascade of people wanting to help. But it's got to start with that. It's got to start with the addict going, I can't do this. I can't live the way that I'm living. I need some help. It's got to start with that first. And it might not stick. It might not stick the first or the 15th time, but there has to be some effort put in from the point of view of the addict. I feel like before an external source can have any measurable effect on that person's life. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm not gonna counter on you that one. I guess that's very true. And you're right. It can start with something just really small.
Yeah.
But to what you were saying earlier, there are people who have rationalized things to a point where, they believe that they either have control or that. I think when you get to that point, you're like, hey man, this isn't really healthy, and they're like, no, this works for me, and it's like, yeah, I mean. It's just you're standing in the garage, the doors are all closed, and the car is running.
Yeah, yeah,
I just, and they're like, no, I can keep getting lower to the floor, and then the poisonous gas won't kill me. I'll just keep on doing that. It's fine. And you're like,
yeah, it'll be okay.
Can we maybe turn the car off?
No, it's if I turn it off, I'll have to. It'll take forever to heat up again.
Open a door, open a window. But it's that rationale that no, I have this under control. And they might even do something like I go and I open this window, once an hour, and I breathe fresh air, and then I'm good to go again for another day or something like that. I put my head above water for just long enough that I can keep this, I can maintain this, and I went through that too. I went through those trials as well. This thought process that I was going to, I don't want to say like, not have control, but that I was, but that I was going to accept.
Yeah.
And accept it, and then it was okay to accept it. That's that rationalization piece. So.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's especially since if it's a loved one, you don't want to feel like you gave up on somebody. You never want to feel like you've left somebody behind. And yet, if you allow an addict to manipulate you, you'll be dragged into the same hell that they're living in. And that's not fair to yourself at all. There's a certain amount of agency, of moral agency that addicts have. Now, oftentimes it is compromised by their addiction. Yes, absolutely. But there is still a certain amount of moral agency. That's why I thought of that when you said the addict All right, not the addict. The parent putting the oxygen mask on. The
Mm-hmm.
only place that I think that analogy falls down is that we're talking about a person who should be able to put their own mask on, but for whatever reason they won't. So should
Right.
the person sitting next to them that is functional and able to put their own mask on, do they risk putting their mask on for this adult who just kind of doesn't want to?
So in that analogy, you're right. It doesn't really work as well, but it still comes down to taking care of yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And doing what's right for you.
No, that part I think completely
and
still
then,
works.
And then to the person next to you, if they can't do it, but they want to.
Yes.
Which I guess in that sense would be like, hey, do you want oxygen? No? Okay.
Okay. Like, that's the thing.
And,
Like,
and you're right, but they should be able to take care of themselves. And not everybody can. And
yeah.
the main thing, the main point of the analogy was that you've got to, in terms of taking care of others, especially when it comes to addicts, you have to take care of your own self. You have to make sure that is solid. You have good foundation before you go and attempt to, like, rescue somebody.
Yeah.
It's Ashton Kutcher and Kevin Costner in that movie about swimming.
I didn't see that one.
It's literally a movie about swimming.
I didn't.
Not like swim team stuff, like rescue swimming though.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm
Was that the Coast Guard one?
but I am not getting into it with you. I was actually just making a joke.
Okay, all right.
A bad joke, a bad analogy.
Okay. Okay. I just love the idea of Kevin Costner and Ashton Kutcher holding each other in the water. That's a beautiful moment in my head.
Yeah, sure.
Thinking about it right now.
Yeah, that's.
I bet Demi was very, very jealous of Kevin.
Probably. So where was I? Oh yeah. So that's the when you go to help other people part.
Yeah.
Whatever we can do, and then we talk about like ultimatums and how does that work, and don't blink first, and all of that. Important pieces too. I think whenever I so as you've been talking about it, I keep going back to the. I guess it's what is the disingenuous, like people who are who are just saying I need help, or who are agreeing to get help because somebody is telling them, not because they want to, not because they feel they need to.
No, they've been confronted, and they're looking for a way to get out of that confrontational moment by ceding territory in whatever the fight is, because they know that the path ahead of them, if they just say, no, I'm not going to rehab, you can't make me go to rehab, if they do that, will be harder than if they just accede by their time and eventually get back to what they were doing before. Yeah.
Exactly. I feel you, dude. But your description of it's correct. It's the trying to get out of the uncomfortable situation by making concessions.
Yeah.
But in no way, shape, or form being genuine in this idea. I think it's like I don't know. I'm not even sure. I don't know what the statistics are on interventions, if they work or not. I mean,
that's worth looking up. Yeah.
So that'd be a tough one to say. Are interventions even, are they worth it, and are they for the? Oftentimes, whenever I see the intervention, like you're saying, well, it's televised or whatever, or that, it always seems that it's the people in the room who are really hurt being allowed to say how they were hurt and why.
Yeah.
But like, it's not. So it's not like for the you're an addict and you hurt me and this is what you did and my feelings were really hurt, and like, okay, maybe. Anyway, I don't have a good one. I don't know where to go with that one exactly. I might be really curious about that statistic, or if there even is one.
Yeah, I'm curious about it too. I'd be interested to hear somebody, like an expert on that, what their thoughts would be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, anyways,
we don't have any experts. We're screwed.
Well, I mean, I kind of have like potential access to one, but I think I'd probably have to pay to get her on. Because I don't think she'd do it for free. which would be okay. I just can't afford it right now. It would be another business expense for a business that doesn't, this don't turn no profit, baby.
God damn it, it's like a Donald Trump business over here. We're just basically
kinda,
running it, racking up debt, and not actually getting anything.
A little bit.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a good conversation. It's certainly food for thought.
Yeah.
Certainly quite a bit to think about later on.
Don't hurt yourself trying to save people that won't try to save themselves first, I think is what I got to boil that down to.
I just rambled for 30 minutes, so you could boil it down to a 7-second soundbite.
Yeah. World War II was bad. That was the whole pre-ramble.
That was
Vietnam,
actually
bad. Pho, really good. Really good soup. It's a really good soup, you guys.
Yep.
I like that. That was the pre-ramble. That's
why
why we didn't have a pre-ramble joke. It was just Ticky giving me a
much
history
the
lesson,
pre-ramble.
which was really good, but it's 30 minutes long, and I can't include that as, like, listen, maybe Ticky should do a podcast on just history. Maybe that's what we should do.
I was going to do a podcast on just bad movies. That's probably what I'd actually do.
Whenever you're ready, man, I'll help you set it up.
History's fun and all, but bad movies are fucking hilarious.
God damn it, man. Stop it. You're going to turn... See, here's the thing. Like, you and Steve will go do that and leave me behind to be like, I'm sorry, we can't help you with your sobriety, your little sobriety thing. We have to review Gremlins versus Zombies 15.
God, I wish they would have made that. No, we'd have to review. I found out there are like so many more. Like, I thought that Rowdy Piper only made like a handful of movies, but there's actually apparently several more.
Oh, God.
One of them stars Rowdy Piper and Billy Blanks.
Oh, God.
Yep.
No, I don't want to hear about it. 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 No.
The amount of awesome in that movie is just...
I don't want to hear about
Go
it.
ahead,
All
then.
right.
We got to move it in the next section.
Yeah, next section. All right, we're going gaming. All right, we're not doing movies. We did movies last time. We're going gaming. Okay. We played Hunt a lot this week. Surprise, surprise, we're going to talk a little bit about Hunt. Okay. Sorry about this, America and the rest of the world. We're going to talk about Hunt. I was watching a Twitch and YouTube human named Huge. That's Huuge. You can find him on Twitch. He streams Hunt Showdown. He is a 6-star solo player who regularly clears the field. That's like saying he's Wayne Gretzky. That he's Michael Jordan. He's whatever the greatest of a particular thing are. This guy is kind of one of those people for the game of Hunt Showdown. I was just perusing around on Twitch after I got off my own stream for a couple of minutes as I was winding down and getting ready to download the VODs and get things started on the editing process. And it was interesting because he was mid-match and he had a lot of really, really negative things to say about his current gameplay experience, which I thought was very interesting. This is a decent-sized streamer who made his name playing this game. So the Hunt property is heavily tied to what he does on his Twitch platform. I believe that he's partnered with the developer of the game, Crytek. So I think that they have him as a sponsored player. So there's obviously a financial incentive for him to continue playing. The subject that he was talking about was very, very interesting. And his complaints. One, he was complaining about the bugs. Now, if you're a game developer that's had a game out past early access and you're not actively working on bugs, I feel, especially if it's something that's being run as an ongoing for-profit venture where you're still offering things like cosmetics inside of a game that you're trying to keep updated on a regular basis, if you're worrying more about monetization than you are about bug fixture, you're doing your game dirty. Now, I don't know that that's what's happening with Hunt Showdown. I just know that there are a significant amount of bugs. So he gets into a fight in the game, and he's going around doing his thing. He gets hit. He gets popped with a latency bug, and his client, the game version that's on his PC, thinks that he's inside of a building, so he's quote unquote safe. The game server, however, thinks that he's outside the building, so he gets popped outside the building, gets immediately killed, gets irritated, gets angry, and starts going on a rant about the current state of play. And the current state of play at the highest levels is kind of this turtled up siege style of gameplay where the first team that gets to one of the objectives basically traps the entire building, makes it really, really difficult for anybody to get in, and slows down the game, the pace of gameplay. What's interesting about this is it also combines with a couple of other features that they put into the game, like the resurrection features with abilities like Ghoul, which allow you to resurrect at a distance, and Ghoul, which allow you, if you're a solo player, to pop yourself back up after you've been shot. These are all things that lower the skill ceiling of the game to make it more accessible to what I feel are more casual players. Now, Ticky and I happen to be those kinds of casual players in terms of our skill level. We're 3-star Andys. Sometimes one of us might pop into 4-star. Have you ever popped into 4-star, Ticky?
A couple of times.
Couple of times. Never popped into 4-star. So 3 and 4, we're right in that area, which is basically kind of average in the game. So we're not great at it. We don't suck absolute ass, but we're obviously part of a larger demographic of players that approaches the game in a more casual way than these really, really elite level players do. I don't mind the occasional turtling up version of gameplay. It's not quite as much fun when you're trying to get into one of these compounds, but when you're the one doing the turtling, it can be fun if you have aggressive teams outside of the compound trying to get in. So the question that I had about all of this was, should game makers of these types of kind of high skill ceiling games, should they be focusing on creating the super high ceiling game, or do they lower that skill ceiling to allow for the more casual player to come in and have a bit more of an enjoyable experience that isn't quite as brutal? Ticky, you had some thoughts about this.
Yeah, the turtling style of gameplay that's just a siege. It is what it is. I don't mind it because half the time I'm being sieged, and the other half the time you're trying to like figure out like how to get in and how to take somebody out.
Well, you love your traps, man. I mean,
I love my traps.
You love your traps.
I like taking down other people's traps. I think that even though it might slow down the gameplay, it can be fun. Just the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think where Crytek has gone wrong, and I've mentioned this to our good friend Russ as well. The resurrection feature for solo players, it's not that they can come back. Like you kill them, they can come back. It's that if you set up your health correctly, like if you set up your health the way that I do, you can res like 4 times.
Sure.
And that just means that you can, you are continuously shooting and on the attack, and players are constantly having to respond to that. And in a system where multiplayer teams you're going in and you're a solo and you're getting back up and coming after these teams, and this is like just it's a bit like this, like Jason Voorhees, kind of like Michael Myers, like relentless pursuit. I think the fact that if you're gonna deal with somebody who's a solo and you kill them and then you light them on fire to get them to like basically because you have to get them to stop somehow, you then have to wait until that fire burns all the way out and you know that player is totally dead.
Yeah.
Before you and your team can move on,
which takes minutes and minutes.
Oh, I know it takes.
It's not a slow thing.
No, it takes forever.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying. And if you're like me and you get lit on fire, I always jump up and People shoot me again, but then I fall down outside the fire. Fire goes out. I'm not on fire anymore. Now what are you going to do? Now you have to light me on fire again. And you have to sit there and watch this stupid fire burn its way down. And I think that's a massive problem. I think what it comes down to with that is you as Crytek, and I've seen this with other games, MMOs and other shooters, you have created I don't want to call it an alpha class, but you have created a class that has such a leg up. I mean, it's immense. Like solo players get like all sorts of massive benefits now
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to wind up kind of imbalancing the game to the point that it's very painful for all the other players that are trying to enjoy it. You're ruining the speed of the game because you're now having to like wait and burn hunters all the way down, and like you have to like stop every time you kill somebody. You have to like have a barbecue.
Yeah.
Um,
Get out your marshmallows, baby.
Yes, you gotta. It's true, you do, and your team can't. You can't leave. You have to like wait. And it's
you have to sit there over that body for like 3 minutes
and if they've
to make sure that you're not going to get shot in the back.
And if the solo has soft skin, then they burn even slower.
Yep.
So I think that idea that you've basically given one style of play or one class of player a massive leg up on other players, or adjusted the game style, the gameplay in such a way that they have a big advantage. I see that this is what I see happening. I see a lot of the team stuff starting to fade away and it becoming a lot of massive solo players. And then once that happens, your sense of community that you have with players who enjoy playing with each other, that's going to go away. And when that goes away, those players are going to drop your game and go play something else where they can actually do like real team play stuff. And you're going to be left with a smaller subsection of your solo players who are still out there wanting to do it that way.
It's kind of interesting. So I saw something that I thought was fairly fascinating. When the last couple of nights when I've been playing teams, like full 3-man teams, it hasn't been an issue. There's been mostly teams of 3 playing against teams of 3. But when I played duos with you, we had more solo players in the queue than I think I'd ever seen before. Usually I'd see like 3 or 4 teams of 2 and then a couple of 3 solos. And that would be it. That would be a maps full, and that would be enough. I think that there was on 2 of the maps that you and I played when we were duoing, I think I saw 2 teams on each one of the maps, and then everybody else was a solo, which was very interesting because it does make it seem like there is an advantage to being able to pick yourself up.
Well, I mean, think about it. Because neither one of us had scanned. We had the tokens. We didn't scan, but I heard as we were getting ready to leave, I heard another character walking on top of like the roof or the tinfoil roof or whatever.
I am the son of probably your favorite streamer. Right here. He's right here, and he has a beard on his face.
Yes, he does. Thank you very much, Colin. I appreciate it. I love you. Good night.
So, yeah, we kind of need to wrap this up, I suppose. But,
It's all right.
that guy, like that one player, like that guy getting back up and us not being aware of it as we left. I mean, we had done a body count.
Yeah.
We knew how many players were dead. We had a really, really good feeling that, hey, there's nobody else on the map left alive. It's just us.
Yeah.
That guy getting back up and shooting us in the back. And I mean, and here's the thing that's annoying. We have no recourse on that. Like if we both get killed, that's it. We lost everything. This guy has been killed. I mean, by the time he finally like got up and died, finally, he had been killed 3 times.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, there's just such a discrepancy, and I don't think that it's a good idea to let solo players have like, I don't want to say infinite reses, but I mean, it can seem that way.
Yeah, I don't know what the solve is for that. I really don't. I don't think I want resing to go out of the game if another player is doing it. Like if you've got a team of 3 and one of your teammates gets you up, I think that that's fair game. I think because that's such a difficult thing to do, and there are ways of mitigating that that don't interrupt gameplay flow. But the self-res stuff, that really does interrupt gameplay flow. But yeah, I don't know what the fix is for that.
I would make it like you get 1 res.
So do you think that pushes us more towards raising the skill ceiling then and making it a less casual friendly experience?
No, I think that it lowers the skill. I wouldn't say that it raises the skill ceiling. I don't think that it actually
because if you die the one time, you don't have as many shots in the game, right?
Well,
if you're playing solo, so that's lowering that's raising the skill ceiling. That makes it harder.
It's going to increase gameplay and gameplay ability for people who are want to or are willing to play solo. What it's ultimately going to do, though, in my opinion, is it's going to really strip down the community, because you're basically going to make everybody a solo player instead of teams. You're like why do we have like teams of 3 anymore? There's going to come a point in time where there's just no point in having team play.
So you think that the resurrection mechanic should be limited to teams in an effort to dissuade people from playing solo?
So like if I get killed as a solo, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to get back up quicker than a guy who if it's like you and me and you get killed and we both kill like this one solo guy. I run over to res you. That guy is going to get up in the same amount of time as it takes me to get you back up.
Right.
And that solo player can then jump up and actually have like a lot of ability. There are several abilities that give them the opportunity to start fighting immediately.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, I think that what it does is it dissuades me from like playing team play. Like why would I play team play other than for the social aspects of it, for the actual gameplay and satisfaction of the gameplay. Solo play is so much better. So much better. I don't have to rely upon somebody else. I don't have to. I can get myself back up quicker than somebody else would be able to res me anyway. No, I just don't think that it's. I don't see how it's going to be something that improves community style play.
Okay.
So it's going to take away from that.
You kind of agree with Huge then, because he'd like that to go away as well.
I don't know that it needs to go away entirely. I think solo could actually have like a single res per map, or per bounty hunt.
Per playthrough.
Yeah, that's fine for solos, because it sucks, because sometimes something just goes terribly wrong and you die and it's really awful.
Yeah.
And it's very, very frustrating. And make the penalty for it like half your health or something like that. Yeah, I think that would be fair. I think that's a lot more fair than, like I said, I start off with 150 hit points, I get killed. Now I have 125. I get killed. Now I have 100. Now I have 75. And I just keep on, Michael Myering my way through the map, just basically like relentlessly coming after somebody, and they until they finally take the effort to spend 2 or 3 minutes of their time to watch me burn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that. That's all there is. It's just
gotcha. Okay.
And that ruins I think that ruins pacing and a lot of other things at that point.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I don't know. Didn't quite answer the question that I posed, but it was an interesting kind of sub question to it.
Well, mine comes back to don't introduce an alpha class to your game.
Sure.
That's the ultimate.
Sure.
That's the answer to it every time. Don't introduce it. Don't throw everything out of balance.
Gotcha. I think that there's got to be a space for creating an enjoyable experience for the casual player so that you can get those new players in, but also for those players that want an engaging end game that's at the higher levels of play for that particular game. I think that there has to be some design that goes specifically into thinking for that. I don't envy a game developer that's trying to balance these two things whatsoever. As a filthy casual, for most of the games that I play, I never see the top, 10-15% of a game's design and most people don't. Hunt's a little bit different because it's basically it's in kind of an open forum, but there are some, like, if you're making a game with 100 different trophies and 60% of your player populace only clears 25% of those trophies, then that's a lot of effort that you've put into creating this potential space for people to explore your world that might not be getting explored by the vast majority of players. But for that small minority that really dedicate themselves to that game, that upper echelon of gaming is so important to them. And I think you'd be doing them a disservice, and I think you'd be potentially robbing, somebody that is a casual player that decides that they want to pursue that game at a higher skill level of that experience. So I don't envy any game designer that has to balance that kind of thing. That'd be rough. Yeah. Well, that's all I got for tonight. Ticky, do you have anything you'd like to bring up tonight?
No.
Cool. Well, then, like every episode of the Save vs. Poison podcast, we like to shout out to the mutual support groups we hope you turn to in your time of need. If you've been watching on YouTube, they've been up in the right-hand corner of the screen this entire time. But for those of you listening for the first time, we do this at the end of every show. There's Alcoholics Anonymous, AA.org, 212-870-3400. Moderation Management, moderation.org, 212-871-0974. Secular AA, that's www.aasecular.org. or 323-693-1633. Smart Recovery, smartrecovery.org, 440-951-5357. Women for Sobriety, womenforsobriety.org, 215-536-8026. And for friends and family of addicts that need a little help in a group-type environment, there's Al-Anon family groups at www.al-anon.alateen.org or 1-888-425-2666. Don't forget to come look at us on YouTube, Facebooks, Twitches, Twitters, all the places that you love to look at, listen, or watch for just the best kinds of content. From all of us here at the Save vs. Poison podcast, I'm Will.
I'm Ticky.
And we wish you warm, creamy regards. Good night, everybody. You've just listened to another episode of the Save vs. Poison podcast. If you liked what you heard, please follow us, like, and subscribe on Twitter at @VS_save, on Facebook at the Save vs. Poison podcast, and streaming live on Twitch at twitch.tv/SVP podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and stay safe, everyone.